Giants, Tundra Striders, Dragon Surfers. Not much is known about the Giants of Skyrim, probably because every time someone tries to get close to one of them, they end up getting ragdolled to the stars or crushed by a boulder. So all we really know about giants is what we can observe from afar, like what they eat, that they have a protective and almost symbiotic relationship with mammoths, and that they have an artistic side. However, there are a few text sources from outside the game of Skyrim that dive a little bit deeper into the history of giants, like the 7 Fights of Abdubla Oblongata, or Giants the Discourse from the Elder Scrolls Online. There might be some debates about the validity of these texts and if they're canon or not, so we could argue about which made-up things are the real made-up things if we really want. But the 7 Fights were written by Michael Kirkbride, who was like one of the leading minds behind everything Elder Scrolls, so I'm going to take his word for it. So a quick crash course on the history of giants. Giants came from Atmora, the same place as the Nords. How'd they cross the Sea of Ghosts? Who knows. Maybe they swam, maybe they floated on icebergs, or maybe if they could stitch clothing, they could manage to tie a couple logs together for a raft. Who knows. The point is they got from there to here, along with their Nord cousins. At some point in their biological history, Nords and Giants shared a common ancestor. This is supported by Giants the Discourse written by Cord the Curious from the Elder Scrolls Online, where he says, "The Atmorans were huge and smart. Nords descended from these ancient folk, became the small intelligent people that we are today. Giants, on the other hand, became the huge, stupid creatures that we watch from a distance." Can we take this moment to talk about how intelligence is relative? Because I have something that Cord the Curious didn't have. Free cam console commands. And with those I could get way closer than Cord the Judgmental ever could. So if you take a second to actually look around the Giants camp, you'll see that the Giants do some things that are actually pretty advanced. The obvious one is cheese making, which is something that I do not know how to do. Then I saw these snowberries inside what appears to be a giant mortar and pestle, implying the Giants had some sort of understanding about either alchemy or jam making. 2 more things that I do not know how to do. And then I saw this curious thing. What's going on here? Your first thought might be that it's a bed or a seat of some kind with a fire to keep it warm. But then I did some more looking around and I started to wonder, is smoking a hide part of the leather tanning process? And it absolutely is. I found multiple videos talking about how smoking a hide is actually one of the most important steps because the smoke helps preserve the hide and makes it water resistant, so it stays soft when the hide gets wet and prevents it from hardening back up when it dries. It has something to do with the natural chemicals in the smoke bonding with the proteins in the hide or something like that. I don't know, I'm sure Hank Green could tell you more about it. So not only do giants tan their own leather, but they also waterproof it. Do you know how to waterproof a hide? That's 3 things the giants know how to do that I do not. But because this giant doesn't know how to edit a video, or read a book, or know all the words to the DK rap from Donkey Kong 64, walnuts, peanuts, pineapple smells, am I gonna have the gall to call him stupid? No. Intelligence is relative. But anyways, at some point that common ancestor that we were originally talking about split off into 2, becoming the Nords and the Giants. I sort of think of this how Homo sapiens and Neanderthals at some point shared a common ancestor. It might not be the same thing, but I think it's pretty close. Now, you might be asking, if they shared a common ancestor, how come there are so many Nords and so few Giants? Well, to answer that question is simple. Nords like to fight shit.
I should bash your face in after all you've done.
One day, probably after a night of drinking and toxic masculinity, the Nords decided it would be a good idea to fight the Giants, steal their grazing lands, and hunt their mammoths. This drove the Giants up into the mountains. Eventually the Nords calmed down, but this might just because they found a new group of people to attack instead. But then eventually the Giants began to come back down from the mountains. And now they pretty much leave each other alone unless someone pokes the bear. And that's everything that you need to know about the Giants of Skyrim. Thank you and take care. Nah, I'm just kidding, because I can't make a video without coming up with some convoluted theory based on loose observation and conjecture. And this one starts with the giant stone markings. Now my take is that these aren't necessarily aggressive territorial markings. I mean, yeah, if you're a non-giant traveler and you stumble across one of these things, it would probably be best to exercise caution. But I think they also serve as road signs to other giants, sort of like rest stop ahead highway signs. Because giants appear to be nomadic people, like they're always on the move with their mammoths moving from camp to camp. And here's the thing about that. The tale is the giants came down from the mountain. But which mountains? The Drudok Mountains to the west? The Jural Mountains to the south? Or how about the Velothi Mountains to the east? Or maybe they came down from mountains from within Skyrim itself, like Sheer Point Peak, or the Brittle Shin Hills, or the Skyborn Range. The point is that there seems to be trails of giant camps coming down from the mountains to one central communal location. I believe that location to be an unmarked location known as the Mammoth Graveyard, because one significant thing about the giants is their understanding of mortality, especially in regards to their mammoth companions. And like I said earlier, mammoths and giants have a symbiotic relationship. And according to our friend Core the Curious again, the giants gather regularly at a ceremonial site where they come to trade, mate, and communicate with each other. This could be that location, or it could be Stonehill Bluff, which seems to be the biggest, most protected, and most decorated of all giant camps, and is conveniently close to the Mammoth Graveyard. So I think it would make sense for the giants' culture to be centered around these two locations. But then you might ask, why is there this one camp north of all the other ones? Maybe that's the rest stop for when they go on vacation to the beach. Who knows? Now, since I like making real-life connections to this game, that's what I'm going to do next. The thing about mammoth graveyards is that they exist, obviously. I mean, look, I'm surrounded by mammoth bones. What else would you call this? But the idea of modern-day elephant graveyards is a total myth. Sure, there might be some areas where finding elephant bones is more common, but that's just because those places had resources like food and water, so the elephants would spend more time there and then eventually die there. There wasn't some supernatural force telling them, "You're about to die soon, you must go to the Dagobah system." But the myth of elephant graveyards was alive enough to convince treasure hunters and poachers at the time to try to go and find these mythical places and strike it rich. Very similar to Skyrim and how when you first reach the Mammoth Graveyard, there will be two poachers there. And not too far from the graveyard is a poacher's camp that managed to get their hands on one of those treasured mammoths, which they got via a pitfall trap, which is a very real way the primitive humans used to catch large game. May not be the most humane way to do it, but I mean hardly anything back then was. But now to bring it all home, leave the giants alone. People like it when they see other species having a grasp of mortality. It's very much like a, "Aw, they're just like us" sort of moment. And it helps us feel not so alone on this quest that we call life. And it keeps us more connected to the natural world. So maybe try to exercise that when you're playing Skyrim too. Unless you just really want their cheese, in which case, be careful. Thank you and take care.